Getting into game now for game 2 of IG versus LGD. We said there was upset potential, said that LGD are a team you cannot overlook, and they blew through IG. It was one real team fight mistake around a dragon, which set up Xiaoya for success. Now as we get through into game 2, IG are on red side. They have banned the Senate, which means that will not be available for Xiaoya as well, one of his better champions. And this potentially means that YSKM can get himself a counter-pick matchup in top lane. I don't want to see him blind picking him. Give him something that can actually dive the backline successfully, but also have a good matchup in top lane.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Renata off as well. Very strong. Of course, it's a very potent pairing with both Varus and Kalista. And I wonder whether the option here is leave both open. But of course the Senna ban, of course Kalista ban from LGD may well force a Varus ban here from IG, or that's just the first pick you have to feel.
What else could be there? Lucian unbanned. That could potentially be on the table. Lucian.
What patch are we on? 14.2?
14-2. 14-2.
So is Lucian still good on that patch?
Lucian's good on all of the patches. He's still even good now. That is actually not it.
So the only reason I say is I know the LCK casters have been very prominently saying Lucian just hasn't been working out there at the minute.
Just because it hasn't been working doesn't mean it's good. Orianna hasn't worked in the LPL. That doesn't mean that Orianna isn't good. Corki hasn't worked in the LEC. That doesn't mean that Corki isn't good. There are ways that, and House barely worked at the LPL. Actually, no, it's not worked at the LPL. Lucian didn't work in the LEC at all. And it's going to be the Varus, which has worked everywhere. This champion is absolutely disgusting. You can go poke, you can go on hit. It ruins the laning phase. But Ashe has gone through. You probably want to deny the Varus Ashe bot lane if you think it is about bot lane laning phase. You could also look towards something like the Azrael Ashe yourself or the Caitlyn Ashe.
Yep, both very potent. Of course, we saw that attempted by Jackie Love and Mako, and it looked pretty good in lane.
No, not this, though. I actually don't want to see this.
Boy.
Giving the blind pick to YSKM is not something I want to see. I think IG need YSKM onto strong backline diving champions, which technically Cassante is, but one which has even more late game scaling. Something like the Gwen or the Camille works so much better for this team. I feel like YSKM in the last game, I guess, because he's not against the Xayah now, it can make things easier, but you can see what happens when he's on something like the Cassante rather than his specialty picks. It's not bad, it's just not what IG needs.
I don't even think he played the Cassante especially poorly. I think
which is exactly what I was saying.
Exactly, yeah. It just didn't necessarily inspire me, but if they're saying, look, we just want to play this a little bit more standard, and now we're not having to deal with the Xayah, this should be a little bit more manageable. They've locked in a Nocturne as well. This means Varus, if he ever gets close enough to either of those people, will have a bad time. Of course, Birdall was pretty happy with that matchup last time around.
That's a very strange Nocturne splash.
The Nautilus is probably what I meant.
Yeah, Nautilus gets locked in, and the Gnar is now going to be the pretty easy matchup into the Cassante. It does well in the individual laning phase. Birdall did very well on it last game. And I'm just really worried that IG have misread what was the winning and losing aspects of the last game. If you're going to play against these backline AD carries, you need something which can threaten them and also still be strong in a side lane as well. Because that opens up your chance to actually get to them. It feels like this Cassante now, YSKM is going to have to prove why he's gone back to it.
Oh.
This was banned in game 1, and it is an ARN special. It was a wing special as well. I wouldn't have minded that, actually. It can work out quite well with the Draven Nautilus, but instead, it's going to be that Taliyah. Now, Taliyah Nautilus, in terms of a mid-support duo, is actually quite nice. You typically see the Taliyah locked in with point-and-click CC champions, because it means that her combo is pretty much guaranteed to land. Now, if Dow suddenly, if you ult into a side lane, or you ult into a mini-Gnar, and you have something like that Nautilus following up, or into the back end of a fight, that Taliyah can one-shot people like the Rakan, like the Gnar, like the Varus.
And Rakan as well is often at his most potent when he's able to leave lane a little bit, join up with a jungler, make some of those map plays happen early, roam top perhaps, and make something happen there. Now you've got that ability for the Taliyah to follow, for those flanks to be all that more dangerous really, because of the unraveled earth and then the Nautilus there to kind of pin you in place. Going to be a lot on Xin Zhao to manage the engage as well, because otherwise it could get really, really punished, as you were saying. Bans now flying through for LGD though are AD carry focused. That Draven off the table. On the other side, it is those playmakers in mid lane.
I think the Vi should be the ban away from LGD now as well, because that's a really good duo with the Taliyah. And if you have Vi, Nautilus, Taliyah, that's really good backline. You have nothing to save your AD carry against that too. For me, that's the ban. It's a Lien special as well. He played it a lot on Rare Atom. Of course, Leon used to be on IG back in the day too. He went on to on sabbatical to Rare Atom, had some great moments and some awful moments.
Okay.
Instead, it's going to be the Xayah band away instead.
What's Arn got left?
Ezreal is fine. I think Ezreal is pretty good on this patch, and it can work well against all of these champions. It also can throw an ult over the team. I think that's fine. But I really think you just lock in Vi here and you save your AD carry to the last pick and see if you can get a good last pick AD carry instead of thinking about the Tristana.
Would be certainly a pick. It's just the hover right now, so we'll wait and see as we were kind of debating a couple other choices. It is locked in. Has got some ways to buffer out of potential CC and stuff, so I see what the thought process is there at least.
So, I mean, could be a pretty easy slam in of something like the Shinsao for Meteor here. I think you need something to just be a little bit bruisery frontline, and the Crescent Guard gives you enough value to do that. Haichao, of course, has to pick up his mid lane as well. And potentially in the mage that counters mages, Hui locked in, very long range.
I will also point out there is strictly a flex here with Cryan taking the Tristana mid and the Talia going towards a jungle, or if God forbid a support and somewhere out there CV Max wakes up in a cold sweat.
I don't know if you can really afford to do that. Talia just doesn't have presence in the early game, and against stuff like the Rakan and the Shinsao as a jungle support CV2, I think you're asking to get invaded very early on and things to go pretty poorly beyond that point. It's not going to be the Vi hovered right now. Okay. It's the Lee Sin locked in for Lian, and oh my word, Lian had some fantastic Lee Sin games very recently. It's not as easy a combo to play with the Talia, but it has such a high payoff if you hit everything and you skirmish well early.
Your ability to skirmish and dive here from IG is very, very high. You've got a lot of ways to get under towers and make people suffer while they're there. So that will now be a little bit LGD to do what they struggled with a little bit in the early game, which was contest and secure vision. IG were the ones that were kind of in the ascendancy in the early game, just kind of when the mid game rolled around, it got a bit trickier to consistently land the Nocturne combos where they fell apart. I wonder whether this combo might be a little less counterable from LGD's side, even if they've got a solid front-to-back team comp.
This is a bit more of an even draft, I think, on the whole. Last game, we already talked about how problematic it is if things got late game and the Xayah just kind of got to pop off, and that's exactly what happened. And this one feels like the lanes can fight. Feels like there's a lot of different ways that each of these team compositions can play towards each other. If someone gets caught out, the Hui can finish them off. If they're in the front line, Hui can just throw the full combo in there too. Need to somehow get onto this immobile backline to IG, because LGD's carries of Haichao and Xayah have had some great games throughout this split, despite the fact that they're only 2 and 5 in series score. They cannot allow them to have maximum value in these team fights.
That is so much easier said than done. Xayah last game, as we were saying, was pretty phenomenal. Onto the Varus is going to be once again on a champion that can do a hell of a lot of work. It is a bit of a change up though from IG. A different look entirely. A little bit more... Actually, I say that, and I say actually the comp still does very similar things. It's a very different set. It's a very different set of champions, but with a very similar gameplay. Like, the moment I said it, I went, no, actually, those champions do quite similar things. Though I would perhaps argue there's less ways to stop it this time around.
I was going to say, like, this is still a team that's going to jump at you with a Nautilus, Lee Sin, Cassante. The Tristana's jumping forward too. Look, let's be honest, folks. IG is still going to be playing for very aggressive skirmishes. Interested to see how Cryan can use the global, though. It feels like if they can use that, they had it from the Nocturne, obviously, in the last game. Now having it from mid lane. See if they can change roles, or change the players in which roles they're using, but have a similar style.
Be the ticket, won't it? I wonder whether we are going to 3 games this series, or whether LGD have what it takes to once again prove themselves superior, particularly around those team fighting areas. I thought LGD team fought actually very well last game, and Birdall, a player who we were kind of saying has had a very volatile up and down career, has actually been pretty consistent now across things like the Gnar. The last couple games on that have been pretty damn good. He's had some highlight reels thrown on the LPL mainstream.
He's had a lot of very solid laning phases. He's had some fantastic team fights. He's had some different champions. One of the very few poppy players in the top lane right now. I think maybe Arla, maybe one of the other few who plays that. 369. He plays a lot of it too, the poppy top lane, where he did last year. Had a very fun game versus LNG on it, actually, towards the finals last year. He ended up taking down Scouts LeBlanc, which was, it was a great game. Fantastic game. I really loved that one. Level 1, of course. Oh, just about missing. Gives maybe an angle for the level 2 to be hit from Xayah and Ginger at full HP. Problem is with lanes like this is that if you have one big skill shot you got to land, you got to make sure that all-in works out early, because then when level 2 is hit and you don't have that HP advantage, then things go worse. You are now at 2/3 HP on Wink, and they're full HP on the other side.
You've just got that pot advantage, of course. You do still have 2 pots to work through, and that kind of can help, but on the other side, Birdall is doing what he did the last game as well, which is use that early priority as the Gnar into the Cassante to just shove him away from the wave.
See that high chair as well in the mid lane, has a fine matchup versus the Talia. The problem with Talia is that, weirdly for mages, she's just a little bit shorter range, where in solo queue and when you're low elo, you don't notice it. But when you suddenly try and go for a combo and you realize that you're getting Orianna shockwaved before you can get in range for your combo, then you start feeling it. And against someone like Hui, who is very long range, you get very much punished for that by the best players in the world, which is why Hui has started to become a bit of a bully towards even stuff like the Azir and the Orianna. You can see that early levels, you got to watch out for your mana, and there are definitely ways that you can get traded back on. But that's the identity which really hurts the Talia.
Yeah, that was nicely managed, crushing more on the Severing Bolt, all flying down there. It was I think it's Molten Fissure. Is that the name of that QE? I always forget. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I have all the names down roughly. It's just there's a lot of them, guys. But either way, it's the Severing Bolt in particular that has earned Hui a lot of acclaim. That ability to follow up with an execute from a long, long way away is pretty good. Wink lands the hook this time, but look who else is here. Leon looking to come on down. Meteor will be around. So this might turn into a little bit more of an extended skirmish. Both sides pretty happy to keep to their sides of the trenches so far.
Yeah, Lien coming down for the 3v3 towards bot side. Lee Sin with the safeguard, actually very powerful. If that hook lands, Meteor's here though.
Flash away from Wink, the battle dance comes on through. Q lands onto Xiaoye, but it will not be taken from Leon. Refuses the call of his body. And follows the wiser instinct of his mind.
Lien's body telling him yes, but his mind luckily tells him no in this one too. So, Lee Sin, Xin Sao, very good 3v3 bot lane champions. Both of these compositions could flip that either way in those fights, but it doesn't come to Bear at this point. I think now at this point, it doesn't come to Blair.
The fresh Prince of bot lane. I don't see Thresh in here. Where's Edward? He stopped playing for a little while.
Dude, buddy, I've done like 2 12-hour shifts already this week. It's been a long-ass week.
Oh.
And you got to give me a little bit of slack.
Utopia. Always.
In the alcove is where I spent most of my days.
At least it started making trouble in my neighborhood. It's got to end here.
I think I can't remember the lyrics quite well enough.
No, I know, it's
do
been a long
parody.
time. I used to watch Fresh Prince religiously.
So,
it's been a long time.
did do a full parody of Radiohead's Creep, which is Creep's score, just in brackets. It
was excellent.
At some point, I think I will do that. Even if it's just me, just on a guitar. Alright, what I need to do, as in I need to find like a karaoke version which doesn't have the vocals in it, I'll just record it over that. It'll be really scuffed and it'll be so worth it.
I want to do the same for Before I Get Tilted, which is Before I
Forget by Slipknot. Yeah.
There's a couple great parody versions on the horizon, guys. Just stay tuned. They're going to be here.
So, it used to be back in the day that Monte Cristo would do a lot of the parody lyrics.
Yes, I forgot he did
I think it was TV Skyen that would do a lot of the covers. A lot of people did, but I remember... I think he did a cover. He did like a parody of "Friend Like Me" from the Aladdin movie, but it was "Jungler Like Me."
Yeah.
It was for Bengi.
Yeah.
Can you jump like this? Can you gank like this? Yeah, I know. We watched a lot of Aladdin as kids. By the way, we were Disney kids.
I think for my 18th birthday, my parents got me a DVD version of Aladdin to take with me wherever I would go.
Oh, that's really sweet.
So, very sweet, really. They know me quite well, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. But game's been pretty slow. Because of the nature of these bot lanes, and again, it's not the double range bot lanes, supports get to roam more. It's a big thing, which you can kind of forget about this as we drift into more 2v2 ranged bot lanes. Engaged supports just get to roam and make a mess of things. You need to keep an eye on where they put wards down, where they get to look for big plays. A hook out of Fog of War can be very, very nasty if it comes at the right kind of time. Dragon has spawned. Mites were taken by LGD. So we're going to have a top side for bot side trade right now. A number of men on the bot side for IG, but they will be matched potentially by LGD, and that's the hook out of Fog of War.
Flash away. Ginger not quite caught up in that combo. Just enough time to get away. But actually, with that combo down, maybe there's an angle instead to go back in. Cry in. Throws out the threaded volley. And LGD actually now the ones in position on the dragon.
Wink's hook cooldown just coming back up. Has the rank 2 of it. And LGD get away with a heist, it feels like. They were in river second to IG. The hook goes on to Jinzhao to stop him from getting an angle in as well. But IG still not able to claim the objective.
Comes at the cost of his flash, but he's pretty happy enough with that. And Wink's still on his Hex Flash. It's not that big a deal. The Rakan gets away with it there. Of course, as the game gets a little bit later and the flash is perhaps a little bit more of a premium, Kong could still end up being punished for that.
And we are back to fairly quiet early game. I kind of like that in this series that we've seen a bit more focus on the melee supports from both of these two. I think Jinja and Wink are pretty good roamers and playmakers. Been around in the LPL for a little while in different degrees. As Bertel is in the...
available? Ooh. Just thought about it, and if he gets close enough to the wall there, that could well have been a straight transit through the mountain. Maybe an angle able to show you. Does not know the Nautilus is there. Oh, show you. Oh,
well,
show
okay,
you.
so look, he's positioning behind the minions to try and stop the hook coming through. Good turnaround.
Does a lot of damage back. I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Flash for the Gyro. Can't make it land. Aren't quick enough on the flash away.
Oh, man, you could tell that Shaya kind of knew there was a threat. He was hiding behind the minions to deny the hook, but it wasn't quite enough. And the level 6 means that Arn has the HP and the damage to turn things around. The MVP from Game 1, who was deathless, finds his first death of the series early on in Game 2.
He nearly managed to make that 1v2 work, I tell you. It got very close. The flash away there, if the flash Q came through, could have been everything they were looking for. Let's have a look again with full vision.
See how close it gets as well onto Arn. Wink tries to lollipop. Doesn't quite get the minion, but the minion hitbox snipe. And right here, just about gets the level up. Gives him an extra bit of HP, extra bit of damage. Close run stuff. That would have been a kill had the level up not come through.
Exactly. Very, very nearly a fantastic play from Shai. Instead, a one play from IG, even if they had to fight for their prey a little bit more than I think they were expecting at the start of that.
Summoners down for both Arn and Shaya. See if there's any angle to be exploited there, particularly as we come up to second grub spawn and we have second dragons coming through as well. There is a chance that maybe Leon could get himself one of those highlight reel plays with a kick back onto a flashless AD carry. Fighting alone in a 2v2 often leads to that. It means that the rest of the map kind of just picks up the pieces from what happened in the isolated fight down there. And IG, you know, they actually did look for pretty good fights in the last game. It just felt like the draft was played against them, and that one fight after Dragon really set them up for failure beyond that point. IG, they have Flash and Wink.
Flash away from Hai Chao, steps away from the seismic shove, but will still get hit by the dread side and pull back onto the unraveled earth. Will die there. The range is just enough to get on top of him.
And that's the Taliyah Nautilus combo we talked about right the way from draft. So Wink gets out of lane, gets comboed up with Cryan. It's going to be 5 grubs taken for LGD. Can't get the full 6, but they'll at least get themselves their buff for the Gnar in the side lane. Has himself a 10 CS advantage already. It's not going to be the cull built up from Bertel in this game. We sometimes see that in this matchup, of course. But LGD, they lose themselves a kill, but they win out in the objectives.
And honestly, I thought Hai Chao played that about as well as he could have. It was a long way away, flashes the flash, and then manages to dodge absolutely everything until the dredge slide is just unavoidable at the end of it all.
And back into the lanes we go with some resets coming through. Cryan has an assist from that last play. Sadly didn't pick himself up and he killed gold. Either way, Hai Chao goes down all the same. He's going up towards a build that we've seen more and more out of the way. We're seeing a lot more in the LPL of the Seraphs over the Ludens. Because it means that when you're against stuff like the Nautilus and the Lee Sin, a lot of these champions which can't 100-0 you, but can you set you up for really big bursts, you're much more safe in the team fights. You can even go towards something like a Zhonya's a little bit later on as well, but of course the Horizon focus is very powerful for his kit too. Hai Chao, as soon as he gets towards Seraphs, IG might need to think again about some of their combos.
That might get a little bit trickier, but not there quite yet. As you said, both of these mid laners looking towards a Seraphs. I think that item has kind of risen a bit in priority, as well as the ability to not be as reliant on mythics means you can be a little bit more flexible about when and where you put items in, and the shields onto potentially vulnerable mages can be quite important here, as there's a lot of burst on both sides.
I don't know why that reminded me of those kind of like medical compensation thing. It's like, are you a vulnerable AD carry that's been on the same screen as a mage recently? Are you a vulnerable mage?
That's me.
That's me. You may be eligible for compensation.
But you may be eligible for a tier build.
Yeah, something like that. It's,
build tier of the goddess today.
Man, could you imagine? Could you imagine like if there was like lobbying from like the shopkeeper in
Boris?
No, Sam, it's Big Boris. It's the Big Boris industry.
Oh my day.
That's why he's trying to offload all the crap items. That's why people get it wrong.
He's got a monopoly. He's not required to give good quality.
It's Big Boris industry all over. I knew there was a problem with him. It all makes sense now. As don't actually have any particular thoughts on the builds in this game, I guess. I can't really carry on that later combination. It's fairly okay, though.
This time, however, I do have some thoughts on the dragon, and that IG got this one and weren't forced out of the river in a slightly bizarre moment. All the while, though, Birdol is taking this opportunity to make YSKM still feel a bit sad about his time in lane. Does have the teleport, and may look to come back into lane with it.
See that Meteor has just crossed over the Rift as well with the Hextech Gates. We're on the Hextech Rift. So he'll be shielding Birdol, so even if Cryon were to look for an ult out of lane, wouldn't really be possible there. As you can see, Lien and Wink were towards that mid lane, and now you can see Lien and Cryon walking towards top side. Would be 3v2 if they committed to it. And I think they realized there's no real angle onto Birdol. They call it off.
And they had an idea that Meteor was there, of course, because there was that ward behind the tower near the Krugs that spotted Meteor out there, and he doesn't stick around long enough for that potential sort of like teased rotation to come on through. Mega Gnar nearly there for Birdol. How aggressive does he want to be with this?
Well, the thing is, with Gnar versus... Well, Gnar in most matchups, actually, you see a full health enemy laner, that's not the time where you go in. The time is when you go in about half Gnar, because then you can use your Hyper Proc to get the percent HP damage, and then you use your Mega Gnar to survive through the burst coming your way. He can clear out the wave with the ult if he needs to, and that's exactly what he does. Well timed from Birdol. But when you're looking for solo kills as Gnar, it's chip damage and then the Mega Gnar to finish off, rather than the Mega Gnar 100-0ing you.
Worth pointing out as well that K'Sante's gone towards a build that's kind of fell off a little bit this season, which is the Iceborne Gauntlet first. And of course,
not in the LPL.
Not in the LPL, but of course elsewhere it's been a little less obvious. And I know something Jumada has harped on about a lot, that K'Sante, part of the reason why he is and was so broken is his ability to just cycle through Iceborne Gauntlet procs is just unreal.
No, I mean, of the K'Santes in the LPL, we've seen a little bit of Sunfire recently. We've seen a lot of Iceborne again. This has not gone anywhere from LPL. It gives you a lot of ability to kind of buy space with the frozen zones and team fights as well, and gives you the ability to, again, just pin down that Gnar so he can't get away from you, even with hyper move speed procs. Get the Herald started up from LGD. They've had the lion's share of the objectives in this series so far. It feels like IG, they need to be very aware of how this map could break open with Grub's 5 Grub push, with also the Herald on top of it.
Definitely something to keep your eyes on, especially if the mid lane turret can be broken open. It does make Talia's life a little bit trickier, I suppose, to Tristana, as towards the mid lane we go. Xin Zhao hit with a Sonic Wave, but does avoid the seismic shovel. Once again, it's been a relatively low action early game. A couple kills towards IG, that's kind of been it. Feels like things are going to explode really over the next 5 minutes or so as some of the more groups up plays begin to happen.
Worth noting as well, Lien's not really been able to get into the game that much. He's had some fantastic games recently. As the driving test from Meteor, it's a bit of a short one, he passed it nonetheless. 5 grub buff, and of course, when it's every member that gets to summon up a little grub might with them, so it's a full turret in mid lane. IG needed to be aware of that. Ult thrown onto Cryon, who has to flash away, and LGD get away with a full mid lane turret.
We saw the Spiraling Despair and the Chains of Corruption thrown out. They will get the flash on Cryon, as you said, but they don't manage to get anything more. All the while, though, Tristana did shove towards the bot lane and did at least trade turrets there, even if the mid lane one is nominally more valuable.
We hear some sirens in the background as the sounds of the city bleed through. As we need an ambulance for mid lane turret. Nope, it's already gone. It's
top lane turret. I think it's about to have its structures broken.
Yeah.
I was gonna say legs.
So,
I don't think towers have legs.
So this is, it's like how, did you know that a gazelle can jump higher than an average house? It's because gazelles have evolved to have incredible powerful legs, and also houses can't jump.
Yeah, it's just so good. I think it's the fact that he starts off so normal and ends so not.
Birdol going to take an entirety of this turret on his lonesome. Again, the real problem with Gnar in these matchups is that he's the best of all worlds, right? Or like he's a halfway house, and sometimes that's the best of all worlds, sometimes it's the worst of them, which is why sometimes Gnar is not very good. In this kind of composition, though, against his kind of matchup, the mini Gnar gives you the ability to kite out from the K'Sante and bully him out with the percent HP damage, which is magic damage as well from the hype. You can't even itemize against it. Well, as soon as you get Maggie, you can't all in him either. So gets down that full turret. 30 CS ahead, using the 5 grubs buff. I mean, I did say I didn't want to see the K'Sante into Gnar again. I want to see a counter pick coming in from YSKM. He has picks to counter the K'Sante, so it's not even like Birdol could have picked that in freely himself. I feel like this is a big dropping of the ball from IG right from the way in there. YSKM's just not been a factor in the first 2 games.
And you've also got to call it out that as the K'Sante, you've got to be really hyper aware of the moments you can go all in on the Gnar. And we've not really seen that at all from YSKM. We've not seen really any attempts even attempted from the side of the K'Sante to try and catch out that mini Gnar transformation. Part of that's Birdol playing it well, and part of that is just YSKM not really being in position to make it happen.
Even when you have Cryon who could fly up to your lane as well. Yan just about ward hops out. Puts down another ward, just as a bit of panic there. I don't know whether the other one was just out of range, but still, swinging a miss from LGD. Potential for a hook coming in. When you're looking for these mid lane kind of plays now, remember that you've got Nautilus and Rakan in the game. It's not like you've got the Renata. You can be the one to throw out that stray skill shot which starts things off in earnest. It stands though. Nara's with the team. Bertle not in a side lane. Leon taking some burst. You can see that the range advantage from the Varus.
Brian, looking for that angle, does come across. The Weaver's wall does come down, gets a massive amount of damage now, does onto Wink. They are trying to play this one out as best they can. Leon gets a kick across the wall, but what on earth does that matter?
Oh no!
Grabs a Megadon towards his team. That was bold. The severing bolt comes on down, claims his life, and they'll get the dragon to boot.
I mean, at this point, we're going to need ourselves like an Uber driver, Cassante, because he almost brings Bertle to the perfect destination. And IG give up their first deaths of the game in another misexecuted team fight around one of these dragons. Bertle on the Gnar is tearing this team to shreds.
I don't think Lisa's involved, but tearing them apart nonetheless, as you said. We'll have a look at this replay. Oh, my days.
Great combo. Hydra full combo onto the enemy AD carry. Tristana, a pick which needs to be ahead of the game to jump forward in impunity. When you're down at that kind of HP, you can't do anything. And you can see how threatened this backline are. Arn has to flash because there is an immediate flash Meganar potential coming in right after that point. YSKM's Cassante, it's not the worst thing out there, but this is not the game or the series for it. I really feel like he should have been given a counter pick, and now he's falling apart in the side lanes. Mini-Nar's coming through, chance that they could get a kill back at least.
Solid buffer on that little thing, but Arn now gets stunned up himself. Bertle, I think likely about to die, goes down into Mini-Nar, and that is a kill over to the Cassante. I think a shutdown granted as well, so it does get something back. I feel like that should have gone to the Tristana, really.
If the Trist had got that, you'd feel a lot more happy about it. Look, YSKM is already out of this game for all intents and purposes. You're not going to be winning the side lane matchup. You're not going to be able to contest the Gnar in the way that you want to. LGD are ahead of the game in the ways that it matters. LGD, they get that side lane out of turret, even though it's at the cost of Bertle dying, giving over the shutdown. He's at 2 items already. Has a teleport to come in, but the first teleport to come in is from IG.
They're over the wall, but that might put Jinja in a difficult position. There's no real way over the wall now for IG, though, which is tricky. They're trying to get over here now. Crying gets on in, but it might be too little and too late. Xiaoye, though, taken very low, means he's no longer a part of this fight, and Jinja might well fall in trade. That will be the 1-for-1 as it stands. I don't think too much more to be found as Meteor needs to leave.
He's going to do just that. Bertle doesn't even need to teleport back in. If it had gone any further than that, then I would have teleported back in with those 2 items completed. The fact that that is only a 1-for-1 after you just committed your TP is now going to be a big problem from IG. And IG, we've said they're inconsistent. We said that this team has some great high highs and their team fighting instincts have been some of the best in the LPL. Feels like their macro in the last game or two has been a little bit askew. It's a team which is showing their inconsistencies in that manner. And they do get the flank teleport. This is great, but it's not the most powerful Cassante in the world. And Cassante, in this case, doesn't manage to get Xiaoye disconnected from the rest of his team. He can't get him away from Meteor. That means that Meteor gets to body block just a little bit, gets to CC a little bit more, and keep his carries alive. Yes, Jinzhao dies at the end of it, but that's a 1-for-1 which LGD will absolutely take. Meteor flashes over to get towards the Hex gates as well. Gets himself out to safety.
And I did wonder there a minute, because I was like, how are they going to get across one? But, oh yeah, Hex gates.
Yeah.
So they do manage to make it work nonetheless. Still, though, LGD feeling pretty okay with the game state as it stands. Got 2 dragons compared to just the 1. They've got those 5 grubs, and they've got about 1,000 odd goldie, which isn't a huge amount at this point in the game, and it could still very much flip against them. But it does feel like for a comp that's supposed to be about the picks, the catches, I guess, with what you've got going, they've been struggling to break apart LGD's kind of units that they've been presenting.
Definitely something which you need to be worried about. IG, they've not really used their globals particularly well either. Crying's had a couple of ults which haven't had that much value. He's a player which has had reached the heady heights of international titles before. He's not necessarily been the person who has had his praises sung, even though he's claimed those titles all the same. He's had a bit of a mixed career in the LPL in the last year or two. He's been fine good, even, but he's just not been elite, and he's not been the difference maker for a lot of these different opportunities. See if you can do so in this game at the very least. Meteor looking to just wave clear out on this. Haichao turns up as well. Mid lane turret is safe. Next dragon coming up in probably about 2 minutes, I'd imagine. I think it's coming up around that kind of timing. I'm trying to remember when the last time IG lost that fight. Would have been around about that time. Of course, Arn's flashes back up from that one flight. Indeed, it is just up in a minute. Up. Teleport back onto the map as, of course, got Baron started. Well, Baron up on the map as well.
Rage play completed for Varus. Do keep your eyes on that. And there is now the Horizon Focus and the Seraphs completed. But it does feel like most people here have got the 2 items in and completed. So relatively even item completion parity across the board.
Range advantage from LGD gives them the advantage in these kind of standoff fights, unless you have a hook landing onto a key target. Blue Trinket, an award onto the Baron means that IG did have some ways to check it, but there has been vision denied just for one moment. Nah, pushing in the top lane in a turret. IG, if they can get themselves a snap fight with a hook, maybe things can start off well.
They get a shot, but it's a well-timed Crescent Guard from Meteor to deny most of the damage, but it will be the ultimate down critically.
I think that's fine, though. I mean, you're trading this basically for time for Birdall to be alone in a side lane. Things to work with him. Problem is, if the next hook lands. Next hook lands, then you start questioning that one again. Crescent Guard was done early enough so Meteor could keep most of his HP intact too. Can LGD hold and lock IG into the mid lane long enough for Birdall to get value?
So what happens to this dragon? I think they're just going to give it up because Leon's over on it right now, and I don't think LGD really have a free way to get over to it. Instead, they're debating a rotation over to the Baron and forcing Leon away.
I don't know whether they're going to start it. In fact, yes, they are. That's exactly what they're going to do. And IG pull off the dragon, and they're going to head towards that as well. Jinja caught out, but he's not going to go down just yet.
Oh, spiraling despair comes on through onto Leon, who's going to be taken down to about a third HP. Back to the Baron they go. Severing Bolt connects as well. 10% HP. YSKM uses the gates to get the backline. The hook lands onto Haichu, flashes away. Jinja trying to get something to the backside. Does get a stun as Leon flashes on forwards. He does get that kill. Xiaoye trying to trade out on the other side as YSKM continues to run at the Varus, who is trading with the Cassandre, but to what avail? All out and kills off the Varus, and IG find a monster team fight.
Cryin ulting forwards, not going to be punished for, and IG find their way through a very difficult situation. Jin Zhao tries to buy time at the start of the fight. It's just not enough, and the carries of LGD are separated, scattered to the winds. IG clean up the pieces. Difficult game for them, difficult series for them so far, but with the Baron claimed, they pull themselves ahead in game 2.
It looked pretty messy for a second there as the HP bar started getting chunked, but Haichao to run the absolute opposite direction to Xiaoye.
The fact that Lien gets burst out so heavily and manages to be a factor in this fight is a really big moment. Yeah, great combo from Haichao. Means it's not on the carries. And you see Lien, he hops over the wall just after this point, and gets himself a Q onto Jinzhao, which means he can clean up house. Despite the fact that he's so low HP, he brings value. And on the other side, Haichao, low HP, Xiaoye, left alone against YSKM, who hasn't even altered at this point. It's completely fine to do so. The Varus cannot kill the Cassandre in the same way that the Xayah did in game 1.
No, they cannot. They'll claim the dragon as well, and that evens that one up in the game. Right back into playable for IG. They are in a great position now. This Tristana, which was struggling a little bit earlier on, now at 2-0 and 3, 2.5 items complete, and will become a bit more of a threat, especially as that Draw a Bead passive continues to extend the auto range. Less reliant suddenly on Rocket jumping in, and more on just the auto attack uptime.
I think it's quite a worry as well that Birdall's not been able to really leverage the side lane advantage in the way that LGD would have liked. Great advantage individually over YSKM, but YSKM still assassinated the enemy AD carry. Now Birdall has to deal with Baron creeps across the board, which means that he can't be pushing up in the way that he wants to. Everyone's coming up here, but they really want to look for a fight here. I don't know if they really want to.
They get the slow, and it might just be the end of that for now. It kind of denies a super aggressive shove, I guess, but YSKM is in the mid lane already. Blast Comb from Xiaoye to get towards the wave there and hopefully clear that out before it is too heavily contested.
The Eye of Sauron put on the floor there from Haichao to check out one of those brushes. Can they defend the mid lane out of turret? Is it just a delaying? And imagine it's just a delay. Taliyah comes in. I don't really think they can use this for that much, though. No. It's a little low value on that side.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that much, but the cannon still continues to just siege away at this fortification tower. I think likely to fall here. No real way of getting a hold of that cannon minion.
Bit annoying, of course, that you don't have the lethality virus for wave clip. You need him to deal with the tanks. You need him to deal with the front line. You can understand why he's gone for that build. LGD losing that Baron. It's a bit of a pain for them. Going to be around about 2,000 gold down. You can see the Birdall just pinging his way towards top lane inner turret as well. What happened here? Interrupted the jump from On. So a bit of an anti-synergy there from Krynon.
Yeah, just throws out a ball and On face plants into it. That's a little bit unfortunate. I see what they were looking for there, trying to catch out Jin Zhao as he was coming across, but it did, as you said, end up in a little bit of that anti-synergy. Leon will leave the enemy jungle and will leave Meteor to secure this red buff for his team.
Lien, 2 items now on the Lee Sin. He's going to be very, very powerful. Not necessarily had the explosive performance that we know from him, but worth noting. Of course, how much damage he will have onto the backline. Seros or not, Haichao's under threat. Xiaoye as well. Doesn't even have himself anything of that defensive variety.
We are left in a game state that is now favouring IG just about. Of course, it's not really a game-breaking gold lead or anything, but it is certainly a big improvement over where things were 5 minutes ago. And now, actually, with the dregs of this Baron buff, they might be able to Actually, as I say that, it's worn off, but they might be able to get over and take up this tier 2 anyway. Haichao has to be a little bit wary without the flash.
He can now wave clear a lot better. Wink Hex flashing over the wall. Not going to be able to get themselves the full turret just yet.
Spiraling Despair.
Chunk coming out, but that's just a dissuasion to keep them from on the turret. Now that ult is down, though, it means that you don't have nearly as much threat if you're looking for an engage.
It's not the longest cooldown at this point. There's enough ability haste to make it be available for the next big fight, you imagine. But now they're going to try and throw down another wall, zone people off the turret, and they will finish what they started, having zoned off LGD from that structure.
So now suddenly from just behind in gold, they're significantly far ahead. Bertle's not been able to chunk down side lane inner turrets. He got a good chunk before the last Baron play in top lane inner. He's not been able to return the same favor towards bot lane inner, and Bertle, despite being at 3 items with the Sterix now, which will make it much harder for him to be locked out of a team fight, he's not really, again, been able to be the game-winning side lane advantage, which LGD would have loved to have.
To the mid lane we go briefly. Dragon still a little minute off spawning.
Oh, the flash forward.
That's on to Bertle. He's going to get Mega now, surely. And Wink did this last game as well. He's just dead. Now Bertle's into the backside. That's so much damage. Why this game is not here?
Game just teleported into the middle of nowhere. He has himself a ghost running, but how much can he realistically do?
He gets knocked up. That's actually not bad, but there's just not getting enough DPS. Crying and Leon struggling to get in here. The Crescent Guard finally comes down. YSKM still not pulled the all out. He's trying to remain tanky. And they just get the kill, and I think they'll get to back away to this dragon.
What the hell was that teleport for YSKM? You should know me, but you should not know where he is. Definitely not on that side of the map. YSKM almost throwing his team an awful curveball there as Bertle catches out Wing, manages to body block the hook as well, and IG, very perplexing series of plays.
It got a bit weird there, and that's some pretty key flashes down. I'll note that, most importantly, Crying without the flash could be a little bit more vulnerable, and Wink as well. No Nautilus flash hook plays available for now unless the Hex flash is able to be channeled. And I know the problem was all the wards were super deep to push for that tier 2 in top lane. That was the closest ward available. And so the flank angle is a very long one indeed.
Shaya has both summoners. Leona has a flank on him too. Could be a flash trade. He's looking for the Q. He gets it. Is the cat going to come after? No. Teleport in from Bertle.
Meteor now a little bit deep, does not have the Crescent Guard. Leia now gets a kick onto the Megan on Bertle. Desperately low, goes down, and it is just getting a bit messy.
It's a trade of awful teleports from the top lane, as Bertle is not the team fight tank that can survive everything. Nara is Bruiser, but he can't press W like Asante does to ignore absolutely everything. It's going to give a dragon over to the side of IG, and this push and pull in the mid lane, trying to walk into River, has now gone back and forth a couple of times.
Debating a Baron bait here, I don't know. 30 seconds on Bertle. There is no teleport because he just used it, obviously, but does have the Hex Gates, I suppose. But IG instead will take this opportunity with the man advantage to start up another Baron. I think they will be contested this time around.
So, there's no teleport from Bertle. He's dead for another 20 seconds, so he won't be at this fight. Pure 4v5, but tanking the Baron.
How much more can they do? It's a bit of a knock up onto Jinzhao, who doesn't really get away that far. The Buster shot might be enough, and it is with the explosive charge. YSKM, though, very low on the front line. Crescent Guard finally back up. Leon dodges away. And IG very low. I don't think they're able to do the Baron anymore.
Oh, Jinzhao's had a bit of a shocker of a game. He's not had the big team fight impact he would have liked. He gets completely shut out of that team fight there as well. After getting hooked, at least the Baron doesn't go down. So it's a cost of 1 for a Baron stop. It's a win for IG, but it could have gone a lot worse.
And the problem is that last game, it was the Xayah that was untouchable. This time around, it feels like Arn at this point at 4-0-3 with the flash up. Very difficult to get a hold of with all the sort of zone control and map. What's the word? Like all the map hazards that are being put down by the likes of particularly that Taliyah. Very difficult for Jinzhao to navigate the fights to begin with, and it's not being given to him on a silver platter, that's for sure.
Well, no, it's not been given to him easily, but he's also just stood in front of the rest of his team, never really found the flank angle he would have liked. He's not really stopped the enemy from DPSing in the way he would have wanted to, and he's just been sat there waiting for an opportunity that hasn't come, and he gets caught out. So, IG, can they find an opportunity like that again? See that Meteor now trying to walk in and stop there being quite as uncontested vision control by Invictus Gaming. Bertle in a side lane again. He has to stay in top lane or mid lane, though. He doesn't have the teleport, and he needs to be there for his team. Just popped Mega.
Coming down, maybe looking for an angle. I think it might just have to be. I'll wait for that second Mega Gnar activation. Let it go down to Mini and try and time it out. There's the hook landing, though, as the Mini Gnar comes on through, and that's bad timing for LGD. IG, on the other hand, though, now taking some damage as Meteor has to Crescent Guard, will block up a lot of damage, but still down to a third HP.
And in the midst of that, missed Varusol. Could have pinned Wink down and killed him, but it's a missed skill shot. LGD They're floundering a little bit. They're walking in just lackadaisically, trying to just bait IG into bad fights. The wall off will stop LGD from approaching them. Baron going down fairly quickly, but there still will be a contest.
I don't know whether they'll be able to stop the Baron going down, though, because Meteor's just not here in time. Does go down. Now Xin Zhao to the backside, gets a charm off, and that's actually not bad, but Bird also low. Does get knocked out as Arn still untouched. Rocket jumps forward and eviscerates the enemy backline. It is a demolitionist's dream. A triple kill to the AD carry, and IG will be bringing us to game 3.
IG, they've put LGD's feet over the fire, and LGD have not had the macro understanding to make the most of it. They couldn't use the side lane advantage. The engaged potential of Birdle and Xin Zhao has been misused. They've waited around to get hooked, and they have been hooked time after time. On picking up the pieces of these broken fights is leading IG to what should surely now be a second game victory.
Haichao will be here to try and clear out the way best they can, but I just don't know how doable it will be. Got 15 seconds on most of the important members of LGD, so I don't know whether they're going to shove for more than the inhibitor. They weren't quite in position to shove any harder than that.
It's not going to be the game just here. Well, the Nexus won't fall, but that's effectively the game. You've given over the Baron again. You've lost a huge amount of gold. It's going to tide them into the Hextech Soul as well. Surely there's one trick left from LGD, but I mean, they walked up. The timing wasn't fantastic. Xin Zhao gets onto both carries. This is not really the game-ending play. Doesn't last long enough. Doesn't manage to combo into anything else, and both him and Birdle having a difficult fight. Xiaoye just about gets a red of crime. He's had a hard time getting damage down in the first place, especially compared to that first game. And IG confidently rolling into the second half of this game.
And also credit to Wink there with the Hex flash into the hook onto Birdle as he hops away. Felt very clean to start that one off because it looked like Birdle might be in a good position with the Mega Narbar as it was. Now the siege can continue in earnest. IG shoving up that top lane, inhibitor in mid lane already fallen. YSKM is just there to empower the minions as it stands. And Arn at level 17, just so hard to keep away from these turrets.
It's going to be really, really hard to reach them at this point. You don't have the same backlane dive, which IG bring into most of the games that they have. And they haven't really been pushed on the map hard enough to stop themselves from grouping up. Birdle has not really been in side lanes. He's not been a factor, despite having a fantastic individual lane lead. The CS means nothing if you can't leverage it. IG, they're just shuffling more of these minions into the base.
They're going to try and go forward here. That's not a bad little attempt. They will get one, but it's only the Lee Sin for now. Into the backline goes Meteor, trying to buy some space and time. Wink still taking low, but on. Pull back, has to cleanse, now needs to run away a little bit, and they do stop the siege. Severing Bolt lands onto Arn as well, who has to flash in case any more damage comes through.
The terrain of the base finally gives LGD an edge to find a carry. Being able to go through the base gates, being able to use that wall to stop hooks from returning fire as well. LGD take down Lian. It's in time for the Hextech to come up. So there won't be a smite for 30 seconds. LGD, can they teleport to this objective and try and deny a dragon and extend this game? They have to look for something soon.
Need to kind of try and find it. They've got the man advantage. Haichao has got the teleport. Will now be looking to come on in. Backing probably for a blighting duel, you imagine. Keep your eyes on it, or maybe it will be that sorcerer's spot. Xin Zhao now pretty low as YSKM comes on forwards, and people just aren't
Meteor doesn't have ults.
Meteor doesn't have ult. That could be a difficult position. Bird onto the backline, though. It is going to do a lot of work. YSKM about to fall, but he will take Meteor with him. That means there's no smite on the other side. As IG trying to find something more. Wink lands another hook, but will likely die for it. Arn to the backside. But how deep is he got? He's got no flash. Why are you here, Arn?
Arn jumps into death. Call him a helldiver. He'll see you on the other side of the afterlife. Meteor goes down, though, and doesn't, because he doesn't have his ult, and IG will get themselves the Hextech Soul. The flash away from Xiaoye stops Arn getting a reset, but IG will still get themselves the most important thing on the map.
They're going to try and fight this one regardless. Over they come. YSKM didn't die. He did get to come back in with a teleport on the full HP bar. Meteor, 16 seconds off. 30 seconds on Arn, though, is huge. How much can they do? Watch for the Weaver's Wall as well. Talia will look to come on over. Redemption now coming on. Haichao gets some damage back. YSKM trying to get in the backside. Leon goes towards the back end. Can't get as much as they were hoping. Flash, kick, kills off Haichao. Everyone else just can't get over the wall. Jinjo stuck in the wall? What on earth is that little interaction? But look at Xiaoye doing damage massively over the wall. Does huge arrow after arrow after arrow. Sonic Wave comes on in. Leon needs to try and find his way back in here. YSKM tries to shunt people away with the Path Maker. Can't find that much, but it's Meteor's
back!
finally respawns, has a Crescent Guard, and they're going to blast cone towards safety, but the Dragon's being started by Shai and Leon can try and get in here as they are going to try and chase, but it would still be sold if they land and that would be huge.
He saw the Dragon!
He's on there, needs to get on in. Who missed it? What is going on in this game? Leon, now with YS, Ken with the most monstrous magic damage shield in the world, doing what they can. Birdle not anywhere near the Meganar, and the Hex Tech Soul does what the gameplay cannot and ends the game.
Invictus taketh away, but Invictus also giveth. They give a teamfight performance which sees them through to game 3. It'll be both of our series today going the distance. IG teamfight their way in the most clownish way through to the end of this series.
I genuinely thought after Arna died, that was going to be it. Dragon was going to be LGD to be able to stall. And no.
Oh my god, some smiles and some laughter in front of Invictus Gaming. You can't help but have that. This game was, it was not just the clown, Sam, it was the whole damn circus. They've piled out of the cart, and they will pile back into it. We'll go towards the game 3 stage. Invictus Gaming, we said they're inconsistent. We said that they've taken down top teams, they've lost the bottom teams, and they'd really leave us with some head-scratching conversations afterwards. LGD, they are going to be absolutely head in hands after how that game